Hey everybody, welcome to Basically Sci-Fi, the short story writing show of stories you can basically call sci-fi. My name's Todd.
And I'm Jared.
Hey Jared, what's up?
Oh, not too much.
Oh man, I knew you were gonna say that.
It's a little predictable.
Yeah. Oh man, our lives are predictable.
Yeah. Probably.
Well, I hope none of you out there are predicting our lives because it's my life and I'm gonna predict what I'm gonna do. So hop off my dick. So yeah, this is episode 7. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. It's a good thing. 7.
7. My favorite Final Fantasy is 7. That is pertinent information. Pertinent?
I have still never played a single one of those games.
I don't see how you can just, get by without having played any of them.
I mean, it's been pretty easy to do it. You just don't play them.
Uh-huh.
And then it doesn't affect your life in any way.
Right. Okay, but have you not, ever played a JRPG?
I mean, I played RPGs and JRPGs.
Yeah. Well then...
But, not the Final Fantasy ones.
I mean...
I'm waiting for the Final Fantasy. I might play that one.
Well, that's the whole thing. You never know when it's going to be the last one. They thought the first one was going to be the last one.
Well, they should have quit while they were ahead.
Well, you say that as if you actually have played some of the more recent ones.
I mean, I haven't, but I've heard many people talk about them at great length, unfortunately.
If there's anybody who knew that this podcast was going to exist before it existed, then they would know that I went on to my friend's job, his podcast, to talk about 15 at length.
Oh, yeah.
So those people would already know my opinions. But,
I was not one of the people that listened to that, unfortunately.
Fair enough. You already knew about this podcast, so...
Yeah, that's true.
On the one hand, I am of a certain age, so therefore I do think the old Final Fantasies were good. But in that conversation we talked about how I recognize that the new one, while different, is still basically, there we go, Final Fantasy.
Yeah, but when's it going to be the Final Fantasy? I just can't get past that.
That also sounds, they said, I remember a few years ago, they said in an interview that, we're not remaking any old games until we run out of ideas for new games.
From everyone I've ever talked to about Final Fantasy, it seems that they ran out of new ideas about 10 years ago.
Well, obviously, because they are remaking 7, so...
Oh, they are?
They are. They're a couple years into development, which now seems like that whole quote was a bad idea on their part.
I guess I did know that, because someone was saying, they're remaking it, but the gameplay is entirely different.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look good.
Well, you may have been talking to me.
Maybe.
Because,
it might have been you.
I don't know. No, I don't think I've ever said that the gameplay doesn't look good, but I am worried about it. Anyway, my friend Job's going to help me out with that.
It doesn't look good. It looks different, which kind of defeats the purpose of remaking a classic game.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a classic, but with completely different gameplay, so who knows? Maybe if it doesn't play the same, it'll suck.
For a new generation of gamers,
$60.
Mario's back, and this time, he's packing heat. Call of Mario. 64. Yeah. All the memories of Mario 64, but now with a fucking gun. The Goombas won't know what hit them. Are they still called Goombas?
I mean...
Or was that like... Was that like just the Super Mario live movie.
I always called them Goombas when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I assume that was the proper terminology.
Well,
but then again, that might have been just me being a kid watching that horrible movie because I had played that video game before.
Yeah, and then you find out that, like, everything you knew was wrong. Like, he's not called King Koopa, he's called Bowser.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog, he's not called Dr. Robotnik, he's called Dr. Eggman.
Yeah.
What the fuck, 90s?
I feel like they definitely changed some stuff around randomly. It's like, oh no, he's not called that. He's called this.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of Japanese things do that. Because back then they were scared to, like, introduce kids to Japanese concepts. I remember when I was a kid watching Pokemon. So Brock. Did you ever watch Pokemon, you know? Brock?
Yeah.
Alright. Squinty-eyed Brock.
Mm-hmm.
He was cooking breakfast for everyone one day. And anyway, he finishes up and he's made these rice balls.
Yeah.
So, traditional Japanese food. You can buy them at 7-Eleven in Japan. They're really good. And anyway, he hands it to Ash and says, Ash says, like, wow, these donuts are delicious, Brock. So, when I first came to Japan a few years ago and we went into 7-Eleven and I see an entire wall covered in them, I'm like, donuts!
Nice.
And then it all clicked and I realized I'd been lied to as a kid.
That is true.
For any kids out there listening, we will never lie to you, but everyone else will.
I'll lie to you.
Jared will.
I don't care.
That's okay. I'll translate for him. So, speaking of lying at length, isn't lying just like telling stories?
I mean, that's what I always tell people that call me on it.
And we've got more stories.
Yeah.
This week again. What were our prompts?
Mine was AI.
AI. And mine was giant robots.
Sweet.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling real Japanese today.
Some Iron Giant style.
Iron Vin Diesel.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, oh my gosh. Well, this is, funny enough, another story featuring Vin from last week's episode.
Everything these days.
Well, if you'll recall last time's episode, I say last week, that was a while ago. So, my story is going to be featuring Vin, the Purple Pirate of Love.
Oh, right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, last time, Vin showed up at the Galactic Society of Friends, the newly founded organization whose sole goal is to defeat or submit entirely to the Dark Lord E-Death.
Yeah, and they're all ranked intern or below, right? So that they don't get killed by E-Death.
Yeah, exactly. See, you remember.
I do.
Except for Yoayuki, the Ikafraijin Squidman leader. This story is featuring Vin again. And I say this story. I mean, do you mind if I read my story first?
No, go for it.
You sure? This isn't the week you're gonna turn?
Nope.
Alright.
Not yet.
Not yet. Tune in next week, fellas. Find out if Jared will finally read.
It's not next week either. We already recorded that.
We did. Tune in a few episodes from now. Find out if Jared finally decides to read his story first. That way you don't necessarily have to listen to mine first.
I mean, you can always skip ahead too.
Yeah, like, comment, and subscribe if you always skip Todd's story. Anyway, my story, which you'll probably skip, is called Hey There, You're a North Star.
I
think with almost every joke I've ever written, that is the reaction I'm trying to get.
Yeah, I forgot about that episode title. You told me about that one. That song gets stuck in my head so easily.
Yeah. Good times.
Sounds of junior high school.
You're giving away our age. I intentionally hid mine earlier.
Yeah, I'm 30 and you're 35.
This story, Hey There, You're a North Star. Construction was already well underway on the Transgalactic Access Pipeline. This pipeline, that would stretch out from the center to the four corners of the universe, would be a crucial component to the black hole that was planned in order to shrink the universe of infinite possibilities to a more manageable size. Vin, the purple pirate of love, along with his rough-and-tumble bad boy crew, were well into their drink, celebrating, as they had been for several weeks now, the successful coercion of the Galactic Society of Friends into funding Vin's scheme. Captain Vin raised his mug of space ale. "Who's the baddest pirate this side of Uranus?" The crew cheered. They were playing a drinking game where any time the answer to a question was Vin, everyone had to drink. Some of the crew had died from alcohol poisoning, as Vin was quite vain. But those who couldn't keep up could just exit stage death, so fuck 'em. In honor of the captain, every citizen of the New Australia turned up and was turned up. That's a thing I heard. The festival had been raging for weeks in the capital of Tortuga, and was planned to continue throughout the construction of the pipeline, because everything was going to go off without a hitch, and no one really had to be sober, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm telling a story. This party had everything a pirate crew could ask for. Space ale, funnel cake, laser duels, laser arena, laser tag, but with real lasers, which is admittedly very similar to laser arena. People were dying everywhere. But honestly, it was a very good time. Bras were hanging off of every balcony, lamppost, and every tip of every tri-corner hat. Vin was currently feasting with his most trusted commanders. First, the quartermaster, Alabaster Garfield. A half rockman, half human. His rockman half means that when he gets into a fisticuffs, he always leads with his rockman left fist. Because, again, I don't know, did I explain in this story? All biracial aliens are half, split down the middle. Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know.
I explained it in the last story, I think. Anyway, so he's half rockman, half human. Apparently his left side is all rock and his right
is rock.
Yep.
Okay.
He is often the butt of a lot of jerk-off jokes due to having a He is often the butt of a lot of jerk-off jokes due to having a much more massive left arm. Alabaster unnecessarily explains that he would much rather prefer to use his human right hand for that particular bit of business. Then there's the first mate, Sneeze. He's a half grey, half human. But since English is his second language, he thinks that being first mate means best friend. He understands and carries out his duties well enough, but still, he's gonna be crushed when he learns the truth about his title. That will be a tale for another time. Next is Mitch, aka the Hammer. The half-human, half-Climax avian, and son of Steve, the security guard? It's a small universe after all. Maybe Vin doesn't have to shrink it. Anyway, Mitch is the master shipwright of the New Australia, so that's why he's called Hammer. He does repairs, and he's really not that interesting. Finally, There's the master gunner, Connor Fnu, a half-human, half-robot, which actually makes him a cyborg or whatever. But all of Vin's commanders are supposed to be biracial, so he got in on a technicality. He's cool, though. Much cooler than Mitch. Fuck Mitch, and fuck his dead dad, too.
It's a little harsh.
No, he deserved it. Sitting at the head of the table next to Mitch were reserved 2 seats of honor. One for the now weeks-old rotting corpse of the asphyxian intern, and one for Supreme Guy in Charge Chancellor Yoayuki. The guy in charge had just recently come to the feast, after weeks of Vin promising nothing bad would happen to him. Yoayuki knew that he could never really trust the word of a pirate. But beyond the promise of boobs and booze, Yoayuki had need of the pirate crew on a matter related to the construction of the pipeline. Hey Vin, thanks for inviting me to your debaucherous festival. At first, I was freaked out by all the corpses and stuff. But the bras hanging everywhere are really quite good. Thanks for coming, Chancellor. We don't have that many half-Ika-Fry-Jins here. Care for a lay before you head back up to the society? I thank you for your kind offer, Purple Pirate. But I'm afraid there's no time for breeding, let alone organizing and holding the marriage ceremony. I've come to ask your help on a matter relating to the construction of the pipeline. If you've come looking for a construction crew, then you're shit out of luck. Pirates don't work for wage no matter what. Fuck work! Am I right, boys? The crew erupted into cheers again, but they didn't drink, since the answer to his question was yes, and not Vin. If you accidentally drink in response to a question that wasn't answered, Vin, then you got your throat slit, which meant that you couldn't drink anymore and were out of the game. Yoayuki continued. No, Purple Pirate. What I'm asking you to do is, I believe, within your usual capacity as a pirate. There happens to be 2 rather large planets located where we were gonna put the pipeline. One planet is the hologram planet of Holologia, where the entire planet and all its people are holograms controlled by a very understanding central AI program. So that's really not a problem. The other planet is called Njordstjerne, and it is the home of a race of giant humanoids. We asked them if they could maybe move to another planet, so we could lay our pipeline through their planet, but they just called us small phallus milk drinkers and told us to F off. Vin laughed. Don't take it too hard there, man. They're giants. I'm pretty sure they would call even my dick tiny compared to their standards. He called to his crew. 'Cause who's got the biggest dick this side of Uranus? The crew cheered and drank, because even though some of them hadn't seen the captain's dick, they saw everyone else was drinking, and they knew for a fact that Vin wasn't about to slit the throats of like 80% of his crew. Come on. This game isn't that hard. Not that many people died playing it, so chill out. Yoayuki adjusted his glasses and coughed. Well, as I was saying, they were all mean and wouldn't do what we asked. The Galactic Society of Friends was wondering if maybe you pirates could get rid of them for us. I mean, we have a giant planet-destroying laser, but using it would be considered a war crime. Vin's ears perked up at war crime. Can we use the giant laser? Yoayuki shook his head. Fine, whatever. Vin slammed back another pint of space ale and leapt up onto the feasting table. I'm okay to drive and ready to go bust some giant skulls. Who's with me? The crew erupted into cheers one more time. One guy drank, and the pirate sitting next to him brought a knife to his throat. But Vin motioned to spare the offending drinker, since they were working now, and the game was over. Like I said, chill out. Everybody formed a single-file line like gentlemen and exited the festival, returning all the bras to their owners and walking gently over the corpses in an orderly fashion. Like gentlemen. The cockpit was a total sausage fest. So instead, Vin and his commanders took to the helm. Alabaster brought up a holoscreen and pointed vaguely at it with a thick stone finger.
This is planet Nordstjerne. The climate is harsh and cold, and it is inhabited by giants.
Mitch was stunned by the sheer size of the planet. It's huge, he said, not really adding anything of value to the conversation because he's a fucking tool.
Goddamn Mitch.
Alabaster continued. Yes, it is. A keen observation. The people there don't really seem to grasp the fact that they are giants, because they are proportionately sized to everything else on their planet. They aren't a very technologically advanced people, so space travel isn't an option for them. And they lack perspective about their size, which, speaking frankly, that's a very good thing. Can you imagine if these guys had giant space lasers? The Galactic Society of Friends planet-destroying war crime laser would look like a pistol to them. They would instantly conquer everything. So what is plan, buddy? Sneeze asked the captain. Vin had been sitting Indian style on the floor, with his eyes closed. Connor, we still got them giant robots?
Arr, we surely do, Captain. Hadn't been used in a while, though. Likely got a bit of rust.
Hammer, get down to the hangar, oil the joints, and slap a fresh coat of paint on our giant robots. The 5 of us will make landfall in those to parlay with whatever king or president or Führer or whatever they got. Mitch asked, not anyone in particular, but just the group in general, hoping that someone would answer. How big are those giants of Nordstjerne anyway? Vin sighed. If you read the holoscreen, you'd see that they stand on average at 40 meters tall, but our giant robots are 65 fucking feet tall. So you better pull your tail out from between your legs and butt cheeks and listen when Grown Peoples is talking.
That's awesome.
After some more bullshit about logistics it's not really interesting to listen to, Vin and the New Australia warped within range of the planet Nordstjerne, and it was time to suit up with the giant mechs. Vin and his commanders donned sweet, color-coordinated leather pilot suits. Vin, of course, in purple, Alabaster in blue, Hammer in yellow, Connor in green, and Sneeze in predictably gray. The 5 badasses struck a cool group pose as fireworks lit in the background, and Smash Mouth's hit song, I'm a Believer, played in the background. Alabaster pointed vaguely again with a huge stone finger at the planet. We will land there. Exactly there, on that beach. Mitch, are you looking? We're gonna land on that beach. After rendezvous, we will then move together on foot towards the giant castle, which obviously must belong to the giant king. Connor warned.
Arr, ye all keep your weapons at ready. You never know when we might have to go all genocide on their frosted arses.
Vin shouted over the roar of the mech engines. We forgot to title this operation! Sneeze turned on his radio and answered with his indoor voice. How about Operation Best Buddies Beat the Bad Guys? Alabaster suggested. How about Operation Giant Removal? Vin responded, this time into his radio. Those are either too vague or too literal. Mitch suggested. How about Operation Frosty Steel? Like steel, like our mechs are made of steel, but spelled steel like the verb to steal, because we're going to steal this planet from the frost giants. Vin turned off his radio because he couldn't believe what he was about to say. Not bad, Hammer. He revved his mech engine and took off for Nordstjerne. The others followed in tight formation. After landing on the planet, the crew set their mechs to tiptoe and crept towards the castle all sneaky-like. Mitch had done a pretty good job oiling all the giant mech joints, so it was actually pretty silent. From the landing beach, they passed through an ice forest, an ice ravine, and finally an ice town before reaching the ice castle, home of the Frost King. Besides being accosted by a giant ice bat in the ice ravine, their march had actually been pretty peaceful. They even stopped tiptoeing, set their mechs to leisurely stroll, and checked out an ice antique shop in the ice town. Antique stores are something that even the most badass manly men can admit to enjoying if they are comfortable enough with their own masculinity. Seriously, there was some pretty cute stuff in that antique store. Not only antiques, but the shop owner blew her own glass ornaments and sold those too. Vin delicately picked up a glass horse with his mech hands. He regretted not having any local currency on him to get the horse. He also regretted not having mech pockets to slip the glass horse into. Finally, they approached the ice castle. The door was massive. It was probably twice as big as their mechs. Probably twice, not like I looked up exactly what the difference in feet and meters was.
Feet and meters. Now there's 3 feet to a meter.
Oh, shit.
More or less. Not exactly, but...
Not exactly. I'm sure I did the math at the time.
Yeah.
Vin knocked on the door regardless, because they didn't have time to go back and get bigger giant robots. A voice boomed from within.
Come in! It's unlocked!
Vin's giant robot head swiveled to face Sneeze. He then waved 2 giant robot fingers to signal, "Open the door, then step back. The 4 of us will go first. You stay here and watch our backs just in case enemies approach from behind." Sneeze's giant robot head nodded. Sneeze was the first mate for a reason. They had an understanding. Words weren't necessary. Sneeze simply used one robot hand to make the OK sign, and then used the pointer finger of his other hand to gently thrust in and out, signaling, "Read you loud and clear, partner and best friend, whom I would gladly give my life for."
Yeah, that's definitely what that means.
Sneeze then kicked the door open, which was, again, for the record, unlocked. Vin took point as the 5 badass pirates burst into the great hall of the castle. The king of the giants sat upon his throne and was unfazed by the pirates' dramatic entrance. Though he spoke softly, his voice echoed through the hall.
"Ah, it seems more tiny-dicked foreigners have come to my hall. You now stand before Fragcool, son of Youngblood, himself son of the God King Grenick. You have come to discuss the Galactic Society of Friends' proposal for us to relocate our entire race and culture to some foreign star? Pointless. We, the regular-sized people of Nordstjerner, will not be intimidated by tiny-dicked milk drinkers in fancy metal pants."
"Guys, I don't know if you know this," Mitch said to the others over the intercom, "but birds pee and poop out of the same hole, so I've got some shit mixed in with my fear pee. I think I need to go back to the ship to change. Can I be excused?" Vin imagined himself jamming both his thumbs into Mitch's eyes and then licking the blood from his fingers, but knew this was a crucial moment if they were going to attempt diplomacy with the Giant King, whom Vin realized now was like twice the size of their giant mechs. "Your Majesty must be well endowed indeed to have to mention its great magnitude to every visitor he meets. Where I come from, that might be considered a sign of insecurity, though I'm sure it must just be a cultural difference."
"Indeed, the blood of a god courses through its veins, though not at the moment, of course. I will give you one chance to save your own lives. You can use this next opportunity to either make your case or merely leave. You foreigners will not be held to the same code of honor as the warriors of Nordstjerner, and will not be judged for retreating while you can."
"How very generous of you, King Fragcool. We keep to our own code of honor as pirates, so I'm afraid retreat isn't an option unless we're losing."
"Pirates?"
Vin signaled to Connor.
"Yarr!"
Connor growled. The king smiled.
"It seems you really are pirates. How long has it been since my grandfather did battle with pirates? Our legends speak of your lust for booty and your irascibility. I've longed for the chance to forge my own legend among our people. Perhaps in doing battle with our enemies of old, I can prove myself."
Vin considered this, set his mech to tiptoe again, cupped his robot hand, and motioned for the king to lean in closer to whisper in his ear.
"Uh-huh. Yes. Oh my, that's not a bad idea. It is decided. We will meet in the Ice Valley of the Gods. There, we will battle."
A week passed. Vin and his crew arrived again in the giant mech suits, except this time all the mechs were wearing giant metal pirate hats and eye patches. Also, Mitch's seat had been cleaned and reupholstered, because of all the bird shit. All of Njordstune had arrived, partly because attendance was mandatory, but also because they were about to watch the greatest battle in history unfold right in the Ice Valley of the Gods. The valley was wide and barren. The surrounding mountains were steep, making the valley kind of like a natural ice giant gladiatorial arena. It was often used for this exact purpose, but also sometimes for ice giant ice hockey,
which was even more brutal and bloody.
The one thing this arena/ice hockey rink was missing was adequate seating, so Vin's crew had provided giant bleachers. Vin's crew? Honestly, it was mostly just Mitch building the things. That guy deserves more credit than he's been getting so far. Hopefully, someone at least said thank you to him. On one side of the valley stood the assembled pirates in their mechs. On the other, King Fragcool was doing squats with his coach. The coach was trying to pump up his king.
"Get angry," he said. "How can I be angry? I'm this close to fulfilling my destiny and cementing my legendary status as king."
The coach gazed longingly at his king. It was true. Fragcool was truly a magnificent king. Coach had been with him since little Frag was a boy. The boy who used to cry when he scraped his knees was now about to take down their legendary ancient enemy. The two grown men, without an ounce of shame, kneeled down to pray.
"God King Grenick, even though you are already dead and we have no evidence that gods or spirits can affect this plane of existence, grant your descendant the strength and skill to defeat our ancient enemy. We ask this of you, even though we are sure that up in Nordhalla, if it exists, you are way too busy feasting and fucking to really care what's going on down here with us. If you could grant us, like, a couple minutes of your time, that would be great. Love, Coach and Frag." After the prayer, it was finally time to throw down. A procession of hornblowers sounded their battle horns as the chanters hummed their traditional battle hymn. "Come on and slam, welcome to the jam. Come on and slam, if you want to jam." That traditional hymn. The King Fragcool bellowed a deafening roar and charged. Vin shouted to his men. "Alabaster, Sneeze, on me! Connor, hang back and wait for my signal." "What about me, boss?" Mitch asked. "Shut up, your mech is being controlled by an AI. I'm not letting you fuck this up." "Got it," Mitch said as he started to make race car sounds and play with the controls. King Fragcool had the size advantage, but when Vin and his men clashed in the middle of the valley, they were at a standstill. The king spit in Vin's mech's face. "Pathetic pirates! I can't build my legend if this is all you can muster." With that, the king ripped both the arms off of Alabaster's mech. "I'm unarmed, Captain! Give Connor the signal!" "Not yet." Mitch's mech snuck around to Fragcool's back. It leapt in the air and landed a brutal kick to the king's spleen. The king coughed up blood and held his side. "Nice one, Mitch's mech!" Vin shouted. The mech landed on one knee in the superhero landing position, and then rose to give a thumbs up. "That's it, Connor! Now!" At the captain's signal, Connor flew up high above the valley. The audience gazed on in amazement. Pirates could fly? How could their king defeat such an enemy?
Spoiler, he can't. Connor's mech held up a giant remote control and pressed a comically large red button. The ground began to shake. The bleachers that Vin had provided for the duel began to transform into giant cages, trapping the audience members inside. The king looked on in horror. "What trickery is this? Such trickery has not been witnessed since our other ancient enemy, the baritone rapper god, Low Key, tricked us into a civil war." I like that one.
Yeah.
"Don't worry, king of the fool giants," Vin sneered. "We've a cage for you too." A shadow enveloped the valley as the New Australia approached overhead. The sound of a giant latch could be heard, and another titanium cage dropped directly onto the king. The king howled because one side of the cage landed on his giant big toe and severed it.
Oh, shit.
"Oops. Sorry about that, King Frag Not So Cool. But considering we dropped that thing from outside this planet's orbit, I think it was a pretty good shot." Now, the entire population of the planet Njordstjerne was trapped in unbreakable cages. Huge chains dropped from the New Australia, and the pirates set to work connecting them to the cages. "What of our duel? What of the honor of pirates? What of the honor of my people? We had a deal, Vin. The less you know about what's about to happen to you and your people, the better. Nothing will stop my ambition, and with this planet out of my way, none are left who can oppose me. Production on the intergalactic pipeline will now resume faster than ever." The chains began to coil, pulling the cages up towards the New Australia. Giant parents huddled together with their giant children, and some say even the planet Njordstjerne itself cried out in lamentation. The end.
Alright. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Another light-hearted, fun week of fun having.
Yeah. That was some heavy shit, man.
Yeah. I mean, at the end.
Betraying the frost giant.
Those frost giants who, honestly, I was rooting for them.
I mean, so long as they make another appearance at some point. So they can make fun of the tiny dick milk drinkers.
Anyway, you got a story for us? Us.
Sure do.
You and me.
Yep.
Alright. Well then, lay it on me. Lay it on me with your massive intergalactic pipeline.
My story doesn't involve an intergalactic pipeline.
Oh no, this story's a continuation from last week, right? Or last time?
Sort of. It has the same characters, but...
Okay.
Some of the same characters, but...
Okay. I mean, the terraforming dudes.
Yeah, it has them.
Nice.
And a couple of new characters, too.
New characters are always welcome.
Yep.
Alright, you milk drinker. Tell me a story.
Yeah, just a minute.
I mean, I don't drink milk because I'm lactose intolerant.
Okay.
So, ain't no giants calling me a milk drinker.
At least not if they want to be factually accurate.
I'm drinking black coffee.
And black tar heroin.
Drinking.
Anyways, I should start this so I can finish this.
Alright.
So my story this week, I titled, for some reason, I called it Linda and the Bean Shrubbery.
Now, I don't give a shit about Jack and no green beans tree. I want to hear about Linda and the green beans bush.
Yeah. So, to recap, the Paragon crew had unleashed a powerful new species obsessed with cleanliness on the universe, and the Paragon Company had suffered another setback on the road to success. And so the small Paragon crew, with their new wildlife-creating nanobots, set out to find their next opportunity to advance the company's standing in the intergalactic market. Weary of previous attempts at terraforming, Thel had decided their next contract should focus more on their nanobots' abilities. They had hired an engineer to work with the bots, assisting in their programming and maintenance. Her name is Linda, because apparently my usual names are too weird for Todd.
That occurred to me. Now I don't imagine her as a dwarf.
No, it's true, and she's not. In fact, none of these characters are dwarves. Even if they are named Bomble and Dombey and Thel.
Yep. Okay, well, hopefully at some point we will learn a little bit about what they look like.
Thel I've been over. I explained him in the first episode he was in.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Actually, I think I explained all of them, but I don't remember.
Sorry. I'm still imagining them as dwarves then.
Yeah, that happens. But to make it a little tougher for you, her name is an anagram for Local Individualized Networking Data Assistant.
Oh, that's good.
There will be a quiz at the end.
Local...
Yeah, that. Linda is an AI originally designed to maintain local area networks on more rural Paragon projects. She became a true artificial intelligence when her core code was accidentally connected to the internet on Trollonus 6.
Oh no.
Where advanced trolling techniques had gone so meta that their internet culture appeared to be peaceful to the untrained eye. Now, it should be said, at some point, every culture goes through internet wars, usually caused by someone saying something so absurdly hateful that those not accustomed to the internet decide the whole thing needs to get shut down. This usually leads to slightly more polite internet communications, billions of deaths, and an internet capable of controlling itself, at least enough to prevent its own destruction.
Overall, a net win, I think.
Yeah. Overall. Now, on Trollonus 6, during the wars, best programmers created essentially a weapon of mass destruction. They implemented a program that not only allowed the internet to protect itself, but also control who was allowed to access it. For some reason, those two abilities combined with Linda's personality subroutines and created a rudimentary intelligence that, through gentle coercion by Paragon's technicians, took off and became a whole new person. Linda designed a body for herself and Paragon built it. But with the nanobots, she saw an opportunity to design an organic body for herself. So she signed on with this crew in order to get access to them. Linda, by all accounts, was a sweetheart, though she does leave some people with the nagging suspicion that they're being mocked, an unfortunate byproduct of her birth. The new job that the Paragon crew was hired for was on Robotica 14.38251111 repeated. A planet populated by 4 giant robots. Built by the planet's original inhabitants, they served as mutually assured destruction devices that were eventually abandoned along with the rest of the planet when they couldn't be dismantled once the civilization had moved past its self-loathing phase. Since then, they had developed a sort of relationship with each other, sending messages to one another without actually meeting, because were they to meet, their programming would demand they destroy one another. And so, with a few millennia of conversation, they had come to the consensus that they would likely all enjoy hunting quite a bit, and therefore decided to hire the Paragon crew to repopulate the planet with animals to hunt.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all coming together.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I think this is going to work out swell.
I hope so. 'Cause I don't remember how it works out.
I had that a little bit with my story too. I was reading it going like, hey, this is pretty good.
Mine, I'm more like, what the fuck is going on? Which I now kind of hope isn't the reaction of people listening. Oh, shit.
Well, I mean, I get it. We got giant robots who, on it took a millennia to form a whim, but they've decided finally to go hunting.
Yep.
And so that
seems like something fun to do.
Yeah.
When Thel and his crew arrived, they set about repopulating the planet. Bomble,
Cromble, and...
No, it's Bomble, Grom, and Dombey went off to various continents to set the nanobots to work, while Thel and Linda went to meet with the robot's elected leader. They held elections every 14 years, and every time the Northeast robot won, because he was the only one that bothered voting. I'm not sure about these folks. Is setting animals up to be hunted really safe with machines designed to destroy their own world? Thel was, as ever, nervous about a new job. Yeah, they seemed a touch aggressive in their initial contact, Linda said. Wait, you saw their contact messages? Well, yeah, I'm constantly in contact with the Paragon infrastructure. I monitor all incoming messages to filter out scams and do background checks on any princes offering up their inheritances. Turns out they're all scammers.
She truly is wise in the ways of the internet.
It's true. Yeah, I got caught up in one of those. I was shocked. He seemed like a really nice guy. Phil couldn't bring himself to make eye contact when saying that. And Linda had no reasonably polite response, so she just made it appear she was distracted by something, and they finished their journey in silence. When they arrived at the massive complex that was the home of the representative robot, they were amazed at the volume of resources put into housing this guy. It seemed the civilization went through a phase of almost worshipping them. Not sure why this is relevant. Likely because it's not. Anyhow.
It's important world building.
Yeah, sure.
Now I know what the... it's like a temple that they're in.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Giant
I assume.
House a giant
a blue
robot.
one. I also assume it's blue.
Oh.
I don't know why, but I assigned all of your directional leaders with a color.
When they did finally find the entrance to the massive estate, the doors swung ominously open before they even had a chance to knock. Though when they were walking in, they realized it was just a motion-activated door. They were greeted by a small robot butler. Visitors? What the fuck are you doing here?
Okay.
Somewhat taken aback, Thel said, "We're here about the animal repopulating project. You see this shit? Nobody tells me nothing. What do they...
That guy's about to quit.
Yep. What do we need animals for? We found out pretty quickly they were an inefficient source of energy. All that blood doesn't burn well, you see." No, we were asked to populate with hunting game, deer, rabbits, big cats, little cats. You get the idea? Oh.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Yep. Dogs.
Dogs. People. Oh, you want the big guy, not me. So fuck off out of my face.
When I show up to someone's house, hey, can I speak with your butler? Oh, he's busy right now.
And he's got a foul mouth.
And he gets one visitor in like 10,000 years and he can't be bothered.
Cannot be bothered. He was so pissed that he happened to be walking by the door at that that point in time.
Oh, wait, he's a butler, but he didn't come to answer the door, like,
Fuck
on
no.
purpose.
That's why he installed motion sensor doors.
Okay. Now it all makes sense.
And so the butler wandered off to do nothing much, really. He would eventually begin eavesdropping on the new guests because there really wasn't much else to do these days. What a strange little man. Linda was not impressed. Yes, well, anyone would develop eccentricities when left alone with a destruction bot for a few thousand millennia. I suppose so. Still, it's curious that a butler bot would so exceed its programming.
Yeah, and eavesdrop.
They arrived at the main chambers and went in, expecting a dreary room designed by a robot lacking imagination. They were pleasantly surprised to find that the room was lavishly decorated in art, statues, and IKEA furniture.
Ooh, my.
Ooh, yeah. Welcome, guests. The robot was just standing in the corner, looking like one of the statues in the room. My name is Androgynous. Sorry, Todd.
Mm-hmm. Nope, no, I got that one. It's Androgynous.
Yeah, sure. Close enough. This is the base of operations for my quadrant.
It's not an anagram, is it?
No,
thank
God. I'm sure it's an anagram of something. This is the base of operations for my quadrant of the planet. Please be welcome. Tell me of the implementation of your nanobots. A unique concept indeed. Well, they were a gift from a people we helped out a few months ago. Thel was always hesitant to bring up Paragon's previous jobs for obvious reasons. We've had great success in creating most species with them, though for whatever reason the badgers they create are extremely violent initially, and then see the errors of their ways and take their own lives in regret for the harm they've caused.
Oh, God.
Otherwise, we can duplicate almost any species. Good, good. We would very much like to have a few distinct hunting grounds. Not overpopulated, but enough that the kills are frequent. He thought for a minute. Sorry, I was getting input from my neighbors. Here in the Northeast, I would like deer, lions, bears, moose, and lemurs. The Southeast...
I'm sure they will all coexist well,
yes,
too.
Exactly. That was the point I was going for with this the species selections. Southeast would like elephants, chihuahuas, kangaroos, and pheasants.
Oh, no.
The Northwest would like dolphins. And the Southwest would like various dinosaurs and humans.
Oh, God. I thought we were joking before. They are hunting humans and chihuahuas.
Chihuahuas, pheasants, dolphins.
God. Dolphins.
Kangaroos, dinosaurs.
Yep. Oh, man.
Dinosaurs would be the best.
I mean, I'd be down for that. To be honest, I don't even care for hunting.
No, I don't. I've never been hunting in my life. And I'm from the middle of fucking nowhere, Maine, so... Very well, then. The only things we can't do are dolphins and chihuahuas. Too clever, you see. How about porpoises and sharks instead of dolphins, and labradors instead of chihuahuas?
Okay. Okay.
We'll take the porpoises and sharks. But how about a small terrier instead? Yeah, I guess that'll work. I'll send out the orders now. Should take about a week. In the meantime, I'll be floating about monitoring progress. I will leave you in the capable hands of our resident AI, Linda. And so they set about populating the planet with game. In the days to come, Linda and Androgynous became fast friends. There were very few truly AI people in the universe. And while 4 destruction bots weren't quite fully intelligent, they had subroutines that restricted their individuality. They weren't quite close to it. Linda offered to replace their programming, to free them, but they decided true intelligence could lead them to destroy their own planet, the way the previous inhabitants had considered. Instead, they just had her replace their programming that prevented them from meeting in person. After a few weeks of work, the Paragon crew finished repopulating the various continents and oceans. They even threw in a free flock of flamingos, just because who doesn't want a big pink bird as a trophy for the lawn? After some festivities and joining in on the inaugural hunt, they left the planet to find their next job. About a year later, they were contacted by the robots and summoned back to repopulate the planet yet again. As the robots had hunted all of the animals to extinction, except for a particularly clever dinosaur. Just one, not a species. His name was Philip. He was particularly fond of playing dress-up, and so eventually found the perfect disguise, taking over for one of the butler bots. I knew it! And so the Paragon crew had finally found a reliable line of work, and all lived happily ever until the next time. Yeah, I forgot I did write in another reference to the butler bots.
The butler bots, I am extremely concerned about them. Especially this one that's a dinosaur.
He's just a clever dinosaur that's hiding from the hunting robots.
He's even sneakier than Iggy 88.
I didn't think it through quite enough to decide whether he just happened to kind of look like the butler bots, or if just putting on a suit and tie made the robots think he was a butler bot.
Well, that's what I'm imagining.
Yeah.
Like a T-Rex.
Yeah.
Using his tiny little arms to adjust his bow tie. And then swearing at people.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, fuck off. I'm adjusting my tie.
Maybe I'll have to bring Philip back, too.
Yeah. I mean, I might have to steal Philip and have him in one of my stories.
All right.
Yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think we'll ever cross time streams
at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah. Write it together and pit our guys against each other. Battle to the death.
Whoa. And I was going to say, like, I'll write a story about your characters, you write a story about my characters. We'll force it to be canon.
Yeah.
And then, but then I'm going to give you my characters and you're going to kill all of them.
One of them. I'll kill one of them.
Oh, God. Okay. Well.
It'll ruin your
Eventually.
whole canon.
Eventually. I think I'm willing to take that risk. Maybe a few episodes from now. I mean, because I have no idea where my story's going, per se. Like,
my story has turned out rather longer than I initially intended. I don't know.
I like the way you do it. I like the way you split it up and then come back later, because it makes me excited to see them again later.
Yeah.
I want to do that too. I guess that's why I was telling the story about Vin for a while. And then we'll see when the other guys all show up.
Yeah, who knows where this will go.
I don't. That's for sure.
But
I'm excited to find out about Robo Dino Butlers.
He'll coming be back eventually. Episode 10 or 11, maybe.
4 or 5 episodes.
Speaking of episode 8, do you have a prompt for us?
Oh, I do. So when we finish writing the story, we each come up with prompts individually and then reveal them to each other at the same time.
Yeah.
So that'll help kind of guide where the next story's going.
Yeah.
And also give some ground rules. So
yeah, just something to spice up our stories or throw a hitch in the writing.
Yeah, man, because AI kind of threw me off this time.
Oh, yeah?
Initially, I was just going to leave the AI as like a throwaway joke. Like I had that planet Holologia, and I was like...
yeah, I kind of thought that at the beginning of your story. But
yeah. No, I felt bad about just throwing away one of the prompts. So then, when I realized, like, oh, I could have Mitch's suit be controlled by an AI, and that way it would be even more like, fuck him. And I could use it in a way that actually affected the story.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with that.
And you don't want to trust Mitch with a mech suit.
No.
He's no Gundam Wing. That was the only mech name I could think of. I've never seen that show.
My prompt for next time?
Yes. Prompt.
Haha! My prompt for next time is clones.
And mine is governments.
Governments?
Yeah.
Alright, prepare for stories about clone governments.
Yep. Just the story of... I'm going to call mine the Clone Wars, I think. But not like that.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to our stories this week. We really appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter. Make sure to listen to our stories both on SoundCloud for the latest episodes and on YouTube in case you want to catch up on the old ones. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and see you next time. Bye-bye.